somebody like Roshan, man, like fought in the
Roshan is true, as you say, son of the Desh ki dharti, like he's true, one of those
anyway,
like
son of the soil, like for real.
Yeah.
And then he went and he did this reality show out there from Evolve. And with this reality show had like fighters from all over, man, from Brazil, US, like guys were coming from like proper camps. And, from there, he got selected, one of 3 fighters, male fighters who got selected on that show and given a chance in one championship. And then following that, he's had a pretty good, run in the one championship. I think 3 fights, 3 wins.
3 wins, 1 loss, yeah.
3, yeah, exactly. So this was his first loss in one championship, and I really didn't like the matchup. I mean, like, I don't know why they kind of paired up Gary and Roshan. I mean, both of them should have had like proper international opponents.
Yeah, I agree as well. The one thing
it would have been great
always...
if they fought like they have Pakistani fighters, man. That would have been great, like fucking promotion if they had them fight Pakistani fighters out there.
Yeah, or even like fight Chinese fighters, fight Filipino, anyone against anybody, like an Indian against anybody else is such a good idea. No,
but it was India versus Canada, no?
It was India versus Canada, exactly. That's my point. It wasn't an Indian versus an Indian. It was a Canadian versus an Indian, and it showed. Look at his training, look at his striking, the way he kind of controlled range with Roshan. But with one championship, this was a really bad matchup, Gary and him, because you're putting a guy who's not. Like, he's there. Say if Gary's here, Roshan is here. It's not an equal fight, right? Like, Roshan has a decent jab and a good overhand right, and a very good double leg blast takedown. But apart from those things, his skill set is still nascent. It's still developing. Like, he still needs to learn feinting, distance management, using more throwing combinations, like more than 3-4 punches at one shot. Look at Gary. He was throwing 3-4 punches, knees, kicks. He overwhelmed Roshan.
I mean, like, after round 1, cardio was a major factor.
Yeah, you could see it.
So that was a big issue with this fight, because it was also a short notice fight for Roshan. Apparently it was only a few weeks notice for Roshan. So, and again, with what's happening with COVID and gyms being closed and how many sparring partners do you get access to, that was a big issue. And with Roshan, again, he's relatively new to the sport.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's very new. So we're talking about origins of Indian fighters. I remember Roshan's first class when he came to CrossTrain, and he was my student. But the first class he came in, he had absolutely zero striking. Zero. Zero means zero. He had nothing. Like, he didn't even know what the guard was. Yeah. And again, the struggles. The guy didn't speak Hindi. Roshan
barely spoke Hindi.
He didn't speak English. Okay. He spoke in his mother tongue, which is in the northeast. I think he used Naga or something.
So Manipuri.
Manipuri. Yeah. He was talking with and Hindi. He would only understand Hindi from a Haryanvi accent, because when he did come to Delhi, he was actually he was staying in Akhada. So all he understood was the Haryanvi wrestlers' language. So when he came to us, he didn't even understand. So those are the struggles, man. He didn't know how to punch. So yeah, I mean, he got outmatched. He fought, a veteran almost, like someone who's so much more experienced. And Roshan is just starting off. Like, I mean, I still think in terms of the men's, I think he's our best hope to win the championship at some point for India. If there's going to be a male actual Indian, I think it's going to be Roshan. And again, short notice fight. And to be honest, in the first round, I gave the first round to Roshan. Roshan.
Yeah, it's 100% 29-28. He won the first round but lost the other 2. Like,
no cardio. Like, second round, you could see second round started and he was gassed out. But that could be because of short notice as well.
And adrenaline dump, all sorts of stuff. You never know, right? What it could be. Just that Gary came in prepared, and he and this is a guy that I'm sure has trained with many, many wrestlers before in his life, especially in North America. You're going to have a staple of wrestlers for you to train with. So we
see him training with, DJ, even Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah.
We see him with the current champion like Viviano Fernandez. I mean, he comes from a much, much more, recognized camp.
Correct.
Not to say that Evolve is not a recognized camp, but then exactly what are the resources that they are putting behind Roshan's training?
Look, I admire Evolve for doing what they're doing, but one thing I've noticed is that, like, when they have a lot of these, like, RDA coming in, or Misha Tate, whoever they have in terms of, like, contract with them, they're not really coaches. They recruit a lot of people from different places, right? Like Christian Lee, the lightweight champion.
Yeah.
he doesn't really train there. He trains in Hawaii. Like he's an Hawaiian American. Like it's, I don't know why they market him as a Singaporean as well.
I mean,
It's
like
really
in full Asian marketing strategy, like at least for the casuals on point. I mean, like Brandon Vera is marketed as a Filipino fighter.
Yeah.
Where, you know, we know he's actually from, you know, the States or Hawaii.
San Jose, man. Like, I mean, as California as it gets. California to like Philippines.
Yeah.
Like,
same thing with this one's opponent, Ritu's opponent, Jyoti.
B. Nguyen, right?
Yeah, I think they're marketing her as
Filipino.
No, Vietnamese or something. But whatever, she's also from the US, right?
Vietnamese, yeah. She's also like I think a Florida girl, like ATT, I think she trains, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So you're coming in from a gigantic camp. Like, I mean, there are thousands of chicks to train with there. Like, to be fair, women's MMA is not very high level anyway. So because anybody can come across the street and you can train with them. So let's get ready. I'm kidding. I'm joking. It's a joke. Ritu Phogat is one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen, like, in terms of just MMA wrestling. She's got it down. But for her,
how bad was the decision though? How much one-sided was that fight? Like,
I mean, in the end they put that on the one championship ka jo scoring system hai, which is not a 10-point must scoring system.
Yeah, they judge the fight as a whole, right? Like they look at the whole thing as one fight.
Yeah.
The whole thing as a whole in the entire fight was Ritu Phogat on top.
Yeah.
I don't know what else do you see in that whole fight.
I think they gave her points for damage in the third. Like this one got on top, slammed those elbows. They just said that she did more damage. But like even then, if you say that last round, which was a 10-8 round, which it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Ritu should have still won the fight. But
yeah, she should have still won the fight. It was a very weird judge's decision, but like.
But we've seen weird decisions everywhere, man. We've seen
horrific decisions before. Now this one, Ritu Phogat and B. Nguyen.
What do you think that Ritu needs to, work on apart from, her stand-up, which is obviously her weak point?
She really needs to learn how to cage wrestle and chain wrestle. What she really needs to do is learn how to control people off the fence and take people down off the fence and keep them there. Because if you notice, a lot of modern MMA relies on what they call the wall walk, where you basically wall walk up the thing against guys like Khabib, Kamaru Usman, dudes like that.
You ain't wall walking nowhere. Yeah.
You're not wall walking anywhere. Gregor Gillespie, nowhere. You're not walking anywhere. Islam Makhachev, those kinds of guys. She needs to learn that. She already has one part of that 100% covered. Her blast double singles are fantastic. Like, she just needs to learn cage wrestling. And of course, I mean, apart from the striking as well, like, because every fight starts on the feet. But if you can push your opponent to the cage and neutralize the amount of damage you take over range, right, you pretty much win fights.
Yeah, in my estimate, like she's so good, like Andrew said, in taking her opponent down. I think I would want to see a lot more transitions into prime strangulation positions. I would love for her
to get a submission game up, basically.
Yes.
Because that's when you have a threat. Again, when you look at the fight, what happened was she was taking opponent down, controlling at the bottom. But controlling is not really a threat in terms of the judges. When the judges were looking at it, did she look like she was going to finish the fight at any point in time? No, she was controlling, but there wasn't any arm triangles coming in. There wasn't any back takes. There weren't any, kimuras or Americanas. There were no threats. So once she starts to put that into place, she'll look a lot more dangerous. Again, we can talk about, UFC 262, where, in Tony's fight, Ferguson's fight, you saw the opponent, man. He was on top, but never did it look like he's just on top for the heck of it. He looked dangerous. He looked scared. He looked heavy on top. And
if Tony Ferguson can't get off you, you're doing something right.
Exactly. And that's what, once Ritu can figure out how to be active from top and dangerous from top, that's when the judges are going to realize as well that, the bottom person is helpless. They can't do anything. They're not getting out.
Can you imagine, Coach, if Ritu actually learned serious jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, she's
going to pass guard and just crush girls, put people in crucifix and just smash them into the ground.
She's going to get so good. If she can learn how to transition and the thing is, wrestling ties in so well with jiu-jitsu, the top.
Yes.
If you have that top takedown game and you learn that passing that, all these Gordon Ryan and all these guys are doing, man, it's going to be, she's going to be such a force because I don't see.
Unstoppable. Yeah.
I don't think there's any girl, at least at one championship, who can match her with that level of wrestling.
Like,
right
for
now.
example, another girl who's very similar to Ritu Fogart in terms of style, Tatiana Suarez
Yeah.
in the UFC.
Yeah.
Have you seen the damage she does on these chicks? Like, Jesus Christ, like these girls by the second round, they're like, I can't believe what's happening to me right now. She's just grounding them and crushing them. Carla Esparza, man, couldn't deal with just the pressure, constant pressure.
Yeah.
If she just learned how to do it and like got good at submissions, and can you imagine someone just turtles and this girl knows how to take the back and choke people out?
Yeah.
Like, she'd be unstoppable. Like, and it's good that she lost. I think it's good that she lost in a very close fight. It'll give her something to think about and really push to the next level. I'm quite excited to see her next fight, though.
Yeah, I'm sure her camp will be also thinking about these things and making those changes
Yes,
in her training.
they should be thinking. If they're not, they should be.